phase shift is basically said it's how much is it been shifted to the left or right. Okay, so we can take a cosine or a sine or something like that, and we can say that it's been shifted to the left or the right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make a generic equation here, or graph, and I'm going to ask us to try and find the phase shift. Pi, 2 pi. So I'm going to say that what we have, find the equation of this cosine function. All right. And so we'll say we'll only deal with the phase shift. We'll say that this is +1 and this is -1. And hold on, let me make it a little bit different here. And there we go. Okay. So let me label a couple of extra points here. This is pi/4. So this is pi. This is half of a pi, and this is a fourth of a pi. Okay, the phase shift in this case is a -4th pi. Or a -pi/4. Why do I know that? Well, if I think of the original cosine function, which is over here, the original cosine function starts with the maximum at 1 already. 1 and 0. 1 comma 0. Or sorry, 0 comma 1. That's where my maximum is. But now I notice in my graph here that we've created, my maximum is at pi/4 comma 1, which means it appears that it's been shifted over that way, a pi/4. And so something that's been shifted over that way by pi/4 has a phase shift of pi/4. And it's negative because, remember, imagine I've taken the cosine graph, and I've shifted it over pi/4, and we know that a shifting in the positive direction results in a negative number in the equation. So to find my equation, it's f of x is equal to cosine of x minus pi/4. And this is the phase shift. What this does is this will shift it over pi/4. And so this is how a phase shift gets equated to the graph. And so the phase shift equation is it's not so much an equation But what you want to do is basically the phase shift is the negative horizontal distance between the maximum and the y-axis. This is for the cosine function. Alright, now for the sine function, the phase shift is the negative horizontal distance between the 0 and the y-axis. And so if we were to write a sine function, my phase shift would be this distance here. Or, sorry, it would be actually this distance here. Okay, and it looks like I've run out of batteries, but why is it this distance? It's because remember the sine function starts by going up. It doesn't start by going down. Kind of like this graph. So it's the distance between this point and the y-axis. So these are the phase shift equations, although they're not really equations. So we've got 1, 2, 3, several equations. These here, here, and then the phase shift equations.